I didn't think the pain from the shingles rash would affect simple, everyday tasks like bathing, getting dressed, or even walking around. I was wrong. Though not everyone at risk will develop it, 99% of people over the age of 50 already have the virus that causes shingles, and it could reactivate at any time. I developed it, and the blistering rash lasted for weeks. Don't learn the hard way, like I did. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Transform your home during Blinds.com's Black Friday Super Sale. Get up to 50% off site-wide, plus huge doorbuster deals on popular styles. Go DIY and do it all 100% online, or choose white glove service with expert design help and professional installation. Both backed by Blinds.com's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Blinds.com's Black Friday Super Sale is here. Save up to 50% site-wide and get a free professional measure. Limited time offer, rules and restrictions apply. See Blinds.com for details.
Good news, dear listeners. The 2026 Achtung Millwall calendar is now available for £10 plus postage. All profits will support the fantastic Lions Food Hub. To pick up your copy, either direct message us on X at Achtung Millwall or email us at achtungmillwall@gmail.com. Come on, you lions.
Well, hello, dear listeners. Welcome to a belated edition of Achtung Millwall. I've actually been away for the weekend, dear listeners, which sounds like exactly the right kind of thing to do in the wake of that 3-1 shellacking, thumping by Pompey on Saturday amidst rain and Sturm and Drang, really. A Lions, 10-man Lions defeated by a rampant Pompey who hadn't won a game in 6. So there's a lot to... There's a lot to be unhappy about in the wake of that particular loss, dear listener. Now, I didn't see the game. I was actually in the Republic of Ireland, a wonderful Guinness-fueled afternoon and evening on Saturday. So all I could do was follow events as best I could on X. So I'm not going to say too much, to be quite honest with you, about the game. I'm going to let the voicemails that people have sent in to me to do the talking for this particular edition. Listeners, I do have a few X posts that I will just wanted to read before we go into the voice notes. Rob Abbott is saying in the wake of the 3-1 loss here, we've got to get through till January and the transfer window, basically, with the amount of injuries which are now approaching the ridiculous level, with the loss of Derek Mazusaku, Del Boy, and apparently certainly a temporary concussion loss of Zach Sturge on Saturday as well. So and a red card for Joe Bryan on Saturday. So the whole thing is just acquiring farcical proportions, really. But basically, Rob is saying get through to January and look to try and do some business in the transfer window. I agree, Rob. I mean, we are still amazingly 8th in the wake of that loss on Saturday. So yeah, there is still an opportunity here. We do look very flimsy and very weak. However, Charlie Isle of Dogs IOD says last 4 games, no wins, 2 points, and no Aziz since Alex Neil ran him into the ground against Leicester. Is that a reason, or is it just coincidence? Asks Charlie. When he plays, he makes a difference. Yes, he does, Charlie. He does. He makes a big difference. He looks like the only striker that we have that looks dangerous going forwards, that has intelligent, makes intelligent runs, that gets into dangerous positions. So his loss has been, no coincidence. That's been associated with his slump in form. Absolutely it is. Good to see the return of Danny Mack on Saturday, says Vince Lee. Kramer and Danny Mack were our best 2, he says. And at least the BFS, Ivanovic, got a goal. I've only looked at the highlights, listeners. I'm not going to comment on the game. It looked like a reasonably good a poacher's kind of goal from Mihailo to put us 2-1 back before the whole thing went square on us. Steve Jones, big shout out, Steve Jones. England lost a test match inside 2 days. I followed that from Ireland as well as best I could. And Millwall lose woefully. Yes, it's not been a great weekend. Steve Jones says he might take up gardening or something. Can't keep getting rattled by useless sports teams. On to Wednesday, Sheffield Wednesday at home. We got stuffed at home to Sheffield United. I saw on the plane coming back, looking at the football results from the weekend. Millwall coming into the game in desperate need of a win against a team that has no form whatsoever. What can possibly go wrong, dear listeners? How we're all still in 7th, says Rob to me. How we're still 7th, I'll never know. Just stay around the pack till January. So there we are. Now I'm going to run the voice notes, dear listeners. As I say, I'm not going to comment much myself on Saturday's loss beyond bemoaning the fact that we are in this situation. I just wanted to mention the Achtung calendars, which are all entirely in support of the fantastic Lions Food Hub, dear listeners. If you want to get some, give me a shout. You can direct message me on X at Achtung Millwall for anyone that doesn't follow me on X. But also you can email me, achtungmillwall@gmail.com. I will stick all this in the show notes. We're charging a tenner, 12 quid if you want it posted in the UK. Abroad, I'll calculate on the Royal Mail postal thing. It's normally about 4 or 5 quid extra, so say about 15 quid-ish, but I'll get the exact cost if you contact me. I really want to try and shift some of these if I can. I'm going to put a whole bunch of them on the Lions Food Hub stand at the Coldblow Lane Inn for Wednesday and then Saturday. Put your money straight into their collection tin and get yourself an Achtung Mill calendar. Action shots from Brian Tonks over the season of various first team players. You could almost have like an injured 11 actually from one per month of the year. But yeah, it's great cause, and all joking aside, it'd be lovely to get a good donation to the Food Hub out of there. So I'll stick show notes in, as I say, details in the show notes. So on to the voicemails. Big thank you to everyone who's contributed. Big thank you to you listeners for tuning. I will do a proper edition after the Wednesday night game against Sheffield Wednesday. I've got Merv to talk to on Thursday, and I'll be doing all the usual bits and pieces. So apologies for this rather shortened version of the show, but big thank you to everyone for sending in content. I didn't want to let it go without posting it. So until the next edition of Achtung Millwall, which will be later on this week from me, Nick Hart, it's Slainte, bit of Irish there for you, dear listeners. Cheers.
Hello?
Nick, Aussie Dave here after an extremely disappointing performance against Pompey. I've got 6 negative points to make, so stand back. The first one was the setup. We played 5 at the back. Haven't really done that all season. Very disjointed and no forward thrust. And Alex Neil has done this a few times where he creates a set we've never used and it never works. Remember the recent game where he played Negley on the left and Ballo in the 10, was it? I can't remember who that was now, Birmingham, Oxford. I think he's just got to stay with a certain structure and particularly the 4 at the back. So fiddling doesn't work. Number 2, defensive performance. And I'm not referring to just the back 5, but the whole team defending. We're shipping in 3 or 4 goals far too often. And even early in the season, where we had less injuries, we were letting goals in. And I think the key area of defensive weakness is the edge of the box. How many goals have the opposition scored from the edge of the box? Almost no one closing them down. They have a pop and it goes in. You think about it, how many goals have we scored from the edge of the box? So it's not as though it's not a defendable position. And in fact, when we're dear old Rao and Harris, they very rarely let teams have fairly easy shots from the edge of the box. So I think something needs to be done, particularly in that defensive area. Maybe a full-time defensive midfielder just guards the edge. I've no idea. I'm not the coach. Third thing, quality of the squad. We all thought we had a good squad, but really now I think there's really big question marks against Ballo, Negley, even Kundal, and now Taylor. Big bloke, but doesn't use his weight at all. And he was easily beaten to contested headers most of the time yesterday, and even in the previous game against Birmingham. Point number 4, we're a bunch of lightweights. We seem to have very lightweight players that get pushed around like my reference to Taylor's a big bloke, but still gets pushed around. I know there's none of the stronger players like Coops, Lenny, Luongo, and even Coburn. So some excuse there, but unfortunately the squad is just not strong enough, particularly when it seems to be wet and cold. Fifth point of my 6 points. We constantly use Ivanovic the wrong way. I almost do this every phone-in. We pump high balls. It's not his game. He loses possession. The opposition start coming forward. How many teams just pump their ball to a centre forward? That's really old school. Normally centre forwards are much more fluid and they come and you pass it to their feet. Surely we can train Ivanovic to do that and train the rest of the team to play that way. And the final thing, unless Aziz plays 95% of the remaining games, there's no way we're going to make the playoffs. Sad to say, probably a realisation a lot of us Wolves supporters are getting to. So, unfortunately, I'm beginning to realise it's all about next season. Anyway, we've got Wednesday, playing Wednesday on Wednesday. Hopefully we can win that one. Come on, you Lions.
Well, that was a disaster, wasn't it? Max Crocombe had a few saves that he made, but he obviously had his Teflon gloves on because he couldn't hold anything. And I thought that Danny Mac and Doughty played pretty well, given that they've been out for so long, especially with Doughty. We obviously need him, all right? I thought Kelly was good when he came on in that midfield. But then moving him to left back, well, he just takes too long to make a decision what to do. He can do that in midfield. You can't do that at left back. I don't know why Idemo came on so late, but he was a bit of a bright spot. Yes, we got a goal back. Ivanovic, nice to see him get a goal. But let's be honest, we were never going to get back into that game. The performance overall was nearly as bad as the Birmingham one. And unfortunately, what we will now hear a lot of is that in the next game, we need to see a reaction. Well, we will see a reaction, and everybody will go, yeah, all right, we've had a reaction if we win, which I think we will. And then everything's all right again. And no, it won't be, because the third game down the line, we'll go out and play like that again. And I just think that the team needs much more consistency. I mean, the next time we're at the Den, we got Sheffield Wednesday, not a problem. We should be able to dispatch them quite easily. But Southampton, who've gone rampant today, I think they'll be a very tough kettle of fish. And I just think Alex Neil needs to find some consistency from the team so that they're going to do this all the time and play well all the time. At the moment, we are fits and starts. And I understand why, because we got a load of injuries. But I'm sorry, the game against Portsmouth, I just was not impressed overall with either the attitude or the application. There you go. Let's keep the faith. Come on, you Lions.
Yeah, there were some, disappointing performances all over the park, really. But when we got back into the game, it looked like we might nick a point with a bit more composure. And then we had that almighty fuck up again from Uncle Wes. We badly missed Coops. He's one of the best contact defenders in this league. First contact defenders, and I hope Doughty can go again because we need him at left back on Wednesday night. But I was confused that Idemo wasn't introduced earlier because for all his lack of the final ball, at least he gives us a spark. Also, we made 6 substitutions. 6. So how the fuck doesn't RBW get a game when we are crying out for creativity? Langstaff up top with Ivanovic might work better in a home game when we have the initiative and more on the front foot. But at the moment, we just don't have an outlet and are really missing Coburn to hold the ball up. Max made some good shot stops today, but didn't really read some of the crosses into the box. So maybe he was still jet-lagged from his game in the USA in midweek. But Nick, what about this ridiculous league table? Just 6 points. 6 points separate the team in third place all the way down to the team in 17th place. That's a crazy stat. But might be proof that the championship is ultra competitive this season. 2 home games up next, and we could well do with a win. It's been 4 games since we've had one of those. Come on, you all.
Hey Nick, Glyn here. This is the third attempt to record this because if I'm honest, I'm really pulled in several directions of how I feel about what we saw today. I think with our first team playing at their best, we're a top 8 side in this division. I think you take 5 or 6 players out of that first team and you're playing with then what's left, and we are a bottom 8 side in this division. And that's what we're seeing now. Our position, as much as it's brilliant to see us as high up in the table as we are, I think actually is misleading. And when you see just how concertine that the whole league is, and how just a couple of wins could jump you from bottom 4 to top 5, is just goes to show that really there's no point looking at a table and league position at this current moment in time. I want to make the comment. I think Joe Bryan, is clearly just a player who's just not able to do what he used to be able to do. And I think 4 years ago, Joe Bryan would have made that challenge quite cleanly, and has done for us in the past. But unfortunately now time's catching up with him, and I just don't think he's able to do the things he can do. And I think great players elongate their careers by adjusting the way they play and adapting to what their body's capable of. I think Joe is still very much trying to do the things that he used to be able to do, and getting sent off today was just criminal. It took out any faint chance that we might have had of getting a win. I want to just say that Caleb Taylor and Crammer, I thought actually were a positive today. They didn't look out of place at all, and Taylor got bullied a little bit. I think he actually held himself up pretty well, and Crammer actually maybe just played a little bit below his normal levels, but he may have been covering for Taylor and put some of that. Our defence overall, I think, with Danny Mack and Doughty, I think both look like players who were ring rusty and not quite ready to be playing at this level. And I'm glad both of them came off uninjured, which is good. And we'll probably need to do that for 2 or 3 more games to get them up to full fitness again. But quite frankly, the pair of them were anonymous for most of the game. Or I think Danny certainly. On one side, and then on the other side when Sturge went off, really weakened our defence as well. So I mean, we actually didn't play that well defensively. But I must say, before the game, I looked at the lineup and I thought I was quite excited by it. I thought there looked like a team there that could do a job, and I think Ballo and Mazusako really were anonymous as well throughout the entirety of the game. And quite frankly, once you've got players that are so far off the form they normally would be in, we were probably kidding ourselves, at least I was kidding myself, that we were going to actually get something out of this game. And one final comment, we played our 2 strikers up front and they did the best they could, but the level of service to them was absolutely atrocious. They weren't going to be scoring many goals today, and the fact that we got what we got out of them is credit to them really, rather than what the rest of the team are doing. Clearly the team wasn't performing in the way Alex Neil set them up to. He was obviously visibly disappointed with what he was seeing, and I think the blame has to lay on the players at this stage, but maybe they're not capable of more than what they're doing. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day there. We've just got to hope that he can cobble together a side with what he's got left. I really don't envy Alex Neil in his position at the moment. It's a tough job, and it's just gotten harder with 2 more injuries. So come on, you Lions. Good luck, Alex Neil.
Hello Nick, hello listeners. John Rankin just calling in from a McDonald's somewhere in Chichester on our way back from Portsmouth. And from a supporter's point of view, I'm a bit disappointed there because we've travelled, 2-3 hours one way, 2-3 hours, that's 6 hours in a car. My friend Chris, who's met us as well, he's got another 2 hours on top of that. And, pouring down the rain, and we watched that sort of performance. And I just want to register my discontent, really. I think we need to play better than that. If it's only for the sake of the travelling away support, who are spending, good money and giving up a lot of time to support the club on the road. And I think that, I'm not looking to blame anyone, but people do need to take responsibility for a performance like that. Portsmouth aren't great, and we made them look good. And I think, again, I said this before on Achtung Millwall, Alex Neil, for me, if I was on the board of directors, I'd be saying you've had a lot of money spent on players. Where's our return on investment? Because you're chopping and changing, and all the time, every game, I don't know what he's going to play. I don't know whether he's going to play a 5 at the back, a 4 at the back, a 2 in the middle, a 2 up front. And, you know, they were all over the place today. What I can say is this. I think our midfield were not very good today. I think Derek Mako, Sacco and Casper Denor were pretty absent, and they let their number 10 run riot. We played without a number 10, and we had Camille Negley and Reece Banger-Williams on the bench, and I cannot understand that. I think Ballow's a bit of a lightweight, to be honest with you. I'm glad Ivanovic got a goal. I don't know why Langstaff was playing, and I don't know why Alex Neil played a 2 up top. I thought Danny Mack was excellent on his return. I thought Joe Bryan, as usual, plays far too high, tries to be a superstar wing-back, leaves himself out of position, then has to play absurd tackles and got himself sent off. So that's my synopsis of it. Very poor, disjointed, bad management, poor performance from some of the players, and we just need to do better. Back to the training ground on Monday and see you at the Den in a week. Come on, you Lions.
I didn't think the pain from the shingles rash would affect simple, everyday tasks like bathing, getting dressed, or even walking around. I was wrong. Though not everyone at risk will develop it, 99% of people over the age of 50 already have the virus that causes shingles, and it could reactivate at any time. I developed it, and the blistering rash lasted for weeks. Don't learn the hard way, like I did. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
Oh, hello, Nick. It's Martin Colwell here. I hope you're well and coping with the weather. I didn't go to the Portsmouth game. I watched it on the stream at home. And I thought the writing was on the wall after the first goal, really. I mean, the injury-ravaged team that we had out looked weak to me, and it was a bad day weather-wise, and it suited the home team to, you know, play in those conditions, I think. But anyway, I wasn't completely concentrating on the stream because I was doing other things indoors. But I thought everyone played poorly, really. I can't pick out a man of the match. I know I do knock Jake Cooper for his slowness, but I thought he was missed. I thought he would have made a difference. I still think we would have lost, though, but who knows? We've got a good first 11, but we're not up to it when we get injuries, and we're a bottom half team. When we have injuries, a bottom 8 team. I think I've said that before. And that's the team we're putting out at the moment. Thought the goalies continue to struggle after a good start. Don't know what we're going to do with their left back against Sheffield Wednesday, because that's a game we need to win, because Southampton come to town on Saturday and now they've got rid of their manager. They've picked up again. I saw that in the early season with Will Steele that they had a high expected goals totals but weren't putting the chances away. And now it's flipped. Now they're putting the chances away. But I don't think we can rely on getting too much from that game on Saturday. So, because we're going to play, I don't know who's going to play left back, to be honest, now that Joe Bryan's suspended and Zach Sturge is out because of concussion. So got to make the most of Wednesday evening against Sheffield Wednesday. They've picked up a bit because I think they've signed a couple of players and they've kind of know what their fate is now. So they can look forward to, hopefully, their new owners taking the club forward after they get relegated this season. That's a must 3 points, really, because we've got to get those 3 points because we need to sort of hang around the playoff area and then hope in the new year that we can get some players properly fit and make a challenge for the playoffs. I mean, we're going nowhere near the automatic places, so that must be our ambition. But obviously, if we keep having all these injuries, we're not going to achieve that either. We do well to get a top half finish. But I won't get too down on the team really, because I think that basically the players are just not good enough, to do it. So don't get onto the players' backs, because I think they are doing their best. They're just not playing well. I think Ballo and Del Boy have played too much, and they're inexperienced players, and they're just feeling the pace of it now. But we've kind of struggled to find players to put in who would be at an adequate standard to cope with the level in the Championship. So yeah, let's not get on their backs. Let's get behind them for the Sheffield Wednesday game, and then we can just be hopeful perhaps for a win there, and then a good performance against Southampton, and hopefully the crowd can be up for the Southampton game. I know we struggle for crowds midweek, but they can be up, and we can give them a good game. But yeah, everyone was struggling really, weren't they? And I thought Tristan Cranmer had a bad game. We usually say he's excellent, don't we? Or I do, or other people do, but I thought he had a bad game. I thought he was over the place. Not just the own goal, but just generally, really. He struggled without Cooper, as Cooper struggles without him, if that makes sense. And I think some of the other players who've come in are just probably too young as well. I thought players like Caleb Taylor, and I'm not a fan of Danny Mack. I know everything loves him, but I don't think he's good enough as a footballer, really. I know he gets back and tries hard and tackles hard, but he's not a very good footballer going forward. But I thought he had a bad game, but equally, it's his first proper game. I don't really count the under-21 games because the level is not very good if anyone's seen an under-21 match. So I don't count that as well. But yeah, we need to buy a right back though, because Lenny is always going to be injured until he packs up off and on. And Danny Mack's not good enough for a team that wants to be towards the top of the Championship. And we also need that centre forward, because I thought Ivanovic was okay, not good, but okay, but didn't really get any service. I thought some of the possession and some of the play on the ball was truly dreadful. But anyway, that's my moan over, really. Let's get behind the team. Let's get down there on Wednesday and get down there on Saturday and try to help the team to get some positive results. Come on, you Lions.
Good evening, Nick Hart, Bobby T. Just got back to Catford, home now. How do I fucking sum up that shit? That embarrassing, piss poor performance. They said 2 weeks international break's going to do us good and all that, good to be back and all that. Yes, the weather played a part in it and all that. There's so much I can go on here and excuses. I'm fucking tired, if I'll be really honest with you. Yeah, 2 hours on the train. Our players didn't turn up again. Alex Neil again, do I say wrong setup again? What does fucking RBW have to do to get a fucking game? It's a joke, right? That Cundle, don't get me started. Joe Bryan again. Like back in the day when we had Hahnemann and Saville, yeah, they didn't get offer contracts, they moved on. But our players now in midfield, like Saka, okay, you weren't missing. Billy Mitchell, missing you. Alfie Doherty should not have started today. Too early to start. Kelly, that's it. And look, don't all blame Mihaila and all that. The boy ain't getting no fucking service at all. Ballo went missing today. Langstaff can't cut it. Personally, if you ask me, 2 lucky worldies of a goal. 2 worldies. The first shot, Cranmer didn't close down. Second one, deflected off Tristan. And then we get 1 goal back, Mihaila. And then the referee, I'm not going to get started on that one. What is there more else to say, Nick Hart and Achtung Millwall? Not Nick Hart, oh yeah, sorry, Chaps for Chaps, he even said it. Piss poor, embarrassing. I mean, how the fuck? Sorry, Bobby T here again. Bobby T, live Achtung Millwall. I mean, I'm happy that Charlton lost. Made my weekend. We didn't even show any fight today, passion. And it's the same old story now. Really can't get his best 11 out. Why is Joe Bryant not only started? He come on because of a poor Zach Sturge concussion. Well, are we missing Cooper? Don't blame Cooper because Cooper's past his sell-by date and he would make a change today. They had one shot in the first half, but flew in, no closing down. Cass was a bit lost. We're not a one-man team. On Facebook, Aziz. Sorry, Nick, I obviously got cut off. Look, I learned it short and sweet now. I don't want to keep them going on my voice recordings because I'm tired now. Like, this is our second defeat now away. We've lost a few at home now. I'm not going to press the panic buttons, but Aziz we're not a one-man team. Yeah, we missed him at Oxford and we turned the game and all that. And he's a baller and all that. But do you remember back in the day, I was speaking to someone on the train. Like, look at the Portsmouth players today. They shoot on sight, top corner, worldies. Well, none of our midfielder don't shoot on sight, right? Forget Casper, Cundall tried it, Billy don't shoot, Kelly don't shoot. But do you remember Stephen? Sorry, let me start. Do you remember Reedy? Do you remember Alex Ray? Eiffel? They shot. They had a shot. They had a pop. Bye for now. On to Wednesday, as in Sheffield Wednesday. Reaction, yeah. I want RBW better be in that team now. Oh, actually, I totally forgot beginning of the video. The only player who deserves credit today is Danny Mack. Yeah, he's out on the right. He can't do it on his own. He's not a winger, but he had so much space on the right, but nothing. Danny Mack, you are the only player who's got some credit tonight because the rest were piss poor, didn't show any fight. And on Wednesday, we've got to do Danny Mack right back and then Wes Harden left back or whatever. Or Alfred Dockett, he's too soon. Bye for that, Bobby T. Not happy.
Hi, Nick. Craig from Costa del Dawlish. Oh, bloody hell, that result was a proper kick in the nuts. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to be digested for Alex Neil after that game, certainly for himself and also the way the players play. But yeah, we're just not good enough, and it is beginning to worry me ever so slightly that this is happening very often where we just don't look like a proper team. And part of that is probably a couple of things. One is Alex Neil having to manage the minutes of a lot of players coming back from injury. And also because these players are going out from injury and coming back, and we seem to just have what is a mix of players that we're trying to fit into a system that I think Alex Neil wanted to experiment maybe a little, thinking against the Pompey players individually we were better, but in terms of performance and application and how we seem to just allow Portsmouth to take the game by the scruff of the neck a lot of the times, and they forced us back because of the way that we played free at the back. It just did not work at all. We certainly play better in a 4-2-3-1, but at the same time, I just feel like we did give Portsmouth far too much respect. We sat back really deep a lot of the game, which I, for the life of me, can't think why, because the deeper that we play, the more isolated Ivanovic is up front. And that seemed to be okay for the beginning of the second half and probably small part of the first half. But the majority of the game, probably about 85% of the game, he was on his own. He was having to chase down balls a lot of the time. And anytime there was a flick on, there just wasn't a player there. I don't understand the thinking behind having Langstaff out on the wing. That was clearly an experimental move to see if it worked, and it doesn't. And that's no fault of McCoy Langstaff. He's not a winger, but at the same time, he's unfortunately struggling to keep up with the pace of the Championship. And I think the fact that Danny Mack being back is great, but he clearly hasn't had enough minutes in his legs. There's a lot. Yeah, there's just a lot from that game, which has now led to more injuries. You couldn't really do much about Zach Sturge getting a possible concussion. That was just unlucky. And I think Del Boy's injury. I think that looked more like an impact injury rather than a muscle strain. So again, it's just more bad luck with injuries. And probably the reason why we end up having so many injuries is because some players aren't probably being rotated enough. I talk about players not getting enough minutes in their legs, but at the same time, there's probably some players that have too many minutes in their legs. And then you have a game where the weather conditions were foul, like really foul, with the wind and rain, and even the way we were passing and the amount of times that we were giving the ball away. Portsmouth did the same, but it was more noticeable from us because we were giving the ball away in our own half a lot of the time because we were barely in their half. Again, like their first goal, great finish, and it seems to be happening a lot. I almost feel like I'm always getting flashbacks of thinking, or the opposition thinking, it's a bit like Jordan Archer, where you only have to shoot from over 20 yards, and you know you're gonna, as long as you hit the target, it's gonna go in. That's what it kind of feels like. But their second goal is just unlucky, a deflection off of Crammer and loops over Crocombe. He can't do anything about that. But the third goal was just that was a sickener. That was a real sickener. Joe Bryan getting sent off. I don't think it was a yellow. I thought it was a yellow. I didn't think it was a red. But again, why is he making that type of challenge? There were players that were heading back. I get it was pacey, but we would have had half a chance to actually swallow up the ball and perhaps just recycle it and regain it. But it was just another one of those days. I feel like we're brilliant one week and then we're shit the other. We're almost as bipolar as most of the performances are bipolar, like most of our supporters at times. But I would say there's clearly a system that doesn't work. Alex Neil knows that now. I'm not panicking about us dropping further down the table. I think we will get better results. Ivanovic is crying out for a partner in a Coburn shaped form. January as well, we can begin to look at perhaps bringing in some reinforcements. So I'm not panicking. Yeah, I still think top six is possible. Mainly because the championship is just such a weird league. And the fact that the majority of the top half lost says it all. Yeah, it is anybody's. Well, it's Coventry's league, but in terms of getting that second automatic spot and the playoff spots, it's anybody's really. But I'm sure as long as I would rather we just try and keep in touch with the top six. We need to stay in touch with it. Don't start dropping away. If we end up in the lower bottom half, that is a big problem. But yeah, I think the fact that we seem to leak goals or lose as soon as we go 1-0 down is again a concern. And people will query whether it's leadership, whether it's the fact that we don't seem to have any players who are confident to try and fight back. That I think to a point, yes, we do need that, but also I think it is a case of how we are set up, and we just seem to be very open a lot of the time. We definitely miss Cooper, we miss Mitchell, we miss Coburn. Absolutely gutted that we don't have Luongo or Smallbone, because things like that will mean that we're not so fragile in the middle, and perhaps we're a bit more steely up front, at the back. Anyway, that was a game, and also as well, listening to the voice note that Bill Slack left, I think I can definitely relate to that. Anyone that feels that something's not quite right, do get checked. You just need to get checked. The day before the Pompey game was the first year anniversary of my dad passing away. And he had passed away from prostate cancer. And it was all too late by the time we found out what was wrong. because he'd been unwell for a long time, but it was never diagnosed. And if we had the knowledge of a PSA test, perhaps we would have known a bit more. But there was all sorts that was wrong with my dad, bless him. But I would have absolutely loved to have been able to just have a moan with my dad about that game. And I just miss my dad. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who miss their dads and granddads as well. And there'll be the reasons why we support the club that we support. So just wanted to say thank you to Bill for that voice note. It really did hit home for me, and echo every word that he said. Do get tested if you feel that there's anything that is slightly wrong. I feel it's better to get checked, and then find nothing's there rather than leave it and then find out before it's too late. So, thinking of everyone who has gone through that kind of journey, and let's hope that the spirits are lifted after midweek against Sheffield Wednesday. So let's see what happens. But it's all right, Millwall, for fuck's sake. All right, take care, Nick. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Achtung Millwall. If you're tuning in via Spotify or YouTube, please feel free to comment, like or subscribe as you see fit. God bless. Until the next show then, it's bye for now.
Who do you want to watch?
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.